Hey guys, so yesterday I had some fun thoughts about how I could share some of my reactions and thoughts about more books with you. So today I'm going to be doing the first of those, and it's going to be books that have made me cry. Now, I am a pretty sensitive and emotional person, but most things don't really bring me to tears. It does take something pretty hard-hitting to actually bring me to tears, and not all the books I'm going to talk about today did actually bring me to tears, but they definitely brought me close. They definitely did incite a big emotional reaction to me. So the first book is The Warden and the Wolf King by Andrew Peterson. This is not it. This is my Kindle. I have it on ebook. But The Warden and the Wolf King is the fourth in the Wingfeather Saga, the fourth book in the Wingfeather Saga, which is an amazing series for kids. It's fantasy about these three kids who, I can't say what they figure out without ruining the first book. Go read it. It's amazing. It is amazing. It was the ending that brought out this reaction in me. It wasn't right away. I had to kind of go back and reread the ending to figure out. But the ending is, in some senses, sad. I can't say more without ruining it. It's a good ending, though. It very much tied into the theme, which was selflessness and sacrifice and the beauty that comes out of that and the love that is shown through that. And although I didn't quite catch it right away, it definitely was moving. And I don't think it actually brought me to tears, but it definitely did come close. The next book that brought me to tears, although I don't think it actually did, just emotional reaction this time, was Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. Again, I don't have this book with me. I actually went to the library to try to get this book, but it's President's Day weekend, and so the library is closed. I have an embarrassing habit of going to the library on 3-day weekends and finding it closed. It's the most annoying thing in the world. I do not have Oathbringer to show you. It is in the Stormlight Archive, therefore it is more than 1,000 pages, and it was a very painful book. So Words of Radiance, which is the book that came before it, definitely scarred me. I was very much saddened by that book. And Oathbringer, I was a little scared too, and definitely there was a lot of pain in it. So Words of Radiance, which is the book that came before it, definitely scarred me. I was very much saddened by that book. And Oathbringer, I was a little scared too. And definitely there was a lot of pain in it. But what brought out the emotional reaction, which was not quite tears, but close enough to be included in this video, was the ending. So the book follows Dalinar. So if you aren't familiar with the Stormlight Archive, Dalinar is basically a prince of some sort, a high prince, it's called, who has a past, but you don't really know about it until Oathbringer. And this past inspires Dalinar to try to be noble and try to make up for whatever it was that was in his past. In Oathbringer, Dalinar is finally forced to confront this past. And as he's forced to confront this past, the antagonist, the villain, the evil god, basically, that is behind all the trouble in the Stormlight Archive, basically comes and says, I can take away your pain. Just give it to me, just say it was all my fault, become mine, basically, go to the dark side, and it won't bother you anymore. And Dalinar is struggling because he knows what the right thing is, but his pain is so great that he is struggling so hard. And I can't say the ending, obviously, but the ending is so beautiful and right. And it's interesting because it's very Christian too. It is very accurate. And I didn't really expect that from the Stormlight Archive. It has weird theology, but it dealt with pain and forgiveness and brokenness beautifully and perfectly. And it was so emotional to see Dalinar go through that and struggle so hard. And finally, when it came to the end, making a choice that was very, very difficult, it was very emotional, and it didn't bring me to tears, but it was close. It was close. At least I think it was close. It could have just been, I was like, oh wow, this is so good. Wow, I respect Dalinar. And yet my heart is as a stone. At least I think it was close. It could have just been, I was like, oh wow, this is so good. Wow, I respect Dalinar. And yet my heart is as a stone. I actually have the next book with me. It is Black by Ted Dekker. This is part of the Circle trilogy, which actually has 4 books in it, but I don't like green, so I'm not counting it. They're all about Thomas. I forget what his last Thomas Hunter. Okay, and all about Thomas Hunter, who in Black begins to fall asleep in this world and wake up in another world. And in another world, he lives in a colored forest, and he is dating this beautiful girl named I have no idea what her name is. Rachel. It's Rachel. But he's dating this girl named Rachel. And everything is perfect and beautiful except for the land across the river. The land across the river is broken and black, and it's filled with these bats called the Shiitake. And you can tell that these bats are evil. He starts out there when he first wakes up, and it's a very dangerous nightmare. It's awful. But eventually he gets back to the right side, where instead there are white bats called the Rausch, I think, who are quite nice. But unfortunately, Tanis, who is apparently the ancestor of everyone who lives in this beautiful colored forest, is considering going over and talking to the black bats. And everyone knows that's dangerous because you must not drink the water on the other side. And if you drink the water on the other side, everything perishes. So this book definitely had connections to this original story of Adam and Eve, which can go wrong, but I liked how it was done in Ted Decker's book, particularly because of the symbolism he used to make it happen. For example, the symbolism of water. So the Shiitake's water is evil and entrancing and life-sucking, whereas Elyon's water is beautiful and life-giving and healing. And I loved that, but that's actually not what I'm talking about here, because I'm talking about why this book made me cry. I'm not going to say what it is that actually made me cry about this book, because that would be spoiling the ending, but you can probably guess. So I was going through a pretty hard emotional time at the time that I actually read this book. I picked it up at a harder spot. I had started reading it a long time ago and gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? I can tell it's about to get bad, and he's in this glorious place dating this beautiful girl. Everything is all right. I'm gonna put the book down. Smart of me, huh? But I picked the book up right before I kind of went through this really traumatic emotional thing. And then got to the hard part in this book. And that, I think, was part of what made it so emotional for me, was just the brokenness and the sadness of the results in this book, and how I was really hit with how much was lost in this book. There was this one scene after the unspoken bad thing that you already guessed was going to happened, where basically you see Elyon, who is God, basically, at the top of this cliff with his servants around him, crying out in anger and fierce rage and a vow to be revenged, basically. And it's all because of this brokenness that has come. I am totally spoiling the ending, but it's all because of this brokenness that has come. And part of what made that so emotional was that Elyon is appearing as a boy in this scene, and just to hear all of that anger and desperation coming from God as a result of what happened was really, really touching and really emotional, and that was what made me cry. I believe I cried in this book. If I didn't, I came so close. Last off on the list of books that made me cry is The Book Thief. So The Book Thief has a tragic ending. You can tell from like the first chapter that this book is going to end sadly. So I was very much prepared, more prepared even than I was in Black, where the fact that I had read Genesis basically told me what the ending was going to be. Reading this, you kind of see basically what's going on in Liesl, the main character's life, and the beauty and sadness and beauty that rises from that sadness again and again. And so when the ending does come, it's very sad, because you can see that there was a lot of hope and beauty, even though at first, even to Liesl, it didn't seem like it was going to be very good or very beautiful, but you see that there was beauty and there was goodness. And so when the ending does come and kind of that is beginning to be taken away, it's very hard and very sad, and I cried. There was a lot of touching moments, and I just cried because it was really sad. It was sad. Really sad. Well, I think that's all on the list of books that made me cry. I can't remember any others. There have probably been other books, but I can't remember them. So, here is my list of books that made me cry. I feel like I waxed far too long on Black. I might have to do a separate book review of the Circle Trilogy, which would be a lot of fun sometime. But yeah, those were books that made me cry. If you are interested in reading books with heavy emotional weight, if you want to be sad, read these books. They will make you sad, and they will also do it for a purpose. I mean, they won't just crush your heart and soul. I don't cry if they crush my heart and soul. I'm like, this book is horrible. But yeah, there you go. All right. I guess, thank you for watching this video. I plan to post more videos soon. Thank you. This is really weird. I'm like not crying, but yeah. Okay. I'm going to pause the video. Okay.